Hello out there and welcome to this Tea and Tights Odyssey Pro Wrestling special, founded in just last year in the historically rich wrestling town of Morecambe. OPW has seen some of the best talent in the Northwest already compete in its ring, including Nathan Cruz, Lizzie Evo, Big Guns Joe, Alexis Falcon, their current OPW Women's Champion Taonga, the current OPW Men's Champion Ryan Hunter. To help us talk about this, we are joined by the general manager and co-owner, Ethan Edwards. Ethan, how are you?
Hello, I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very, very well today. It's my hay fever's starting to finally clear up, so I'm really sorry if I do sound a little snotty and nasally.
Fine.
I'm surprised I've managed to cope because we were just talking before we had Simon Hill and Jason King on the shows just this week. And half these shows I'm doing literally cannot breathe. But I'm finally feel like I can breathe a little bit, although it's a bit. So bear with me. We are, of course, Tea and Tights, a Great British Wrestling podcast for Great British Wrestling, as featured on bodyslam.net, brought to you by Power 4 TV. I'm the host, Great British Tag Team, Mr. Andrew Moore and Eaton Most. Not joined by Big Daddy Dan today, but he'll be back for the Brit Wres Roundup. But Ethan is going to keep me company, and we're going to talk Morecambe wrestling history and OPW, because you have War on the Shore, 9th of April in Morecambe at the Alhambra?
Alhambra Live. To anyone that's from the Morecambe area, they know it as the Carlton. And to me, it'll always be the Carlton, but the venue tells us we have to call it the Alhambra Live now.
Of course. Got to keep those venues happy.
Yeah.
Now this is actually going to be your 6th show now, because as I say, mentioned, you did only just found yourselves last year, but as I say, some huge names have already come through the doors, which has been absolutely fantastic for you guys. You're on Powered 4 TV, along with ourselves. You've got excellent commentary team, I must say, Kurt Johansson and Simon Hill. We just had them on. Let's talk about those two. They are a fantastic team to have. So how did you have connections already, or were you fans of their podcast? Because they've had podcasts as well.
Yeah, so it all started because of their podcasts. Like one of the things we were keen to do with the commentary was have people that were knowledgeable about the wrestlers that we'd have on. So what was great about having podcasters as our commentary team is these are people that are used to having to do this research on people that might be a little bit obscure to some people, and finding out these facts and all that sort of stuff. And it was one of our other co-owners, Rick Marcus, that had been on Simon and Kurt's podcasts, and just he sang their praises greatly. He said, "Look, I think these guys would be really, really good." And then we as a group thought, you know what, yeah, let's do it. Like, Simon's for a play-by-play. I don't know who you could say is better in the country, in my opinion, and I'm going to be quite biased, but I just think he's brilliant. Like I've had the opportunity to sit next to him as he's done his thing, and I forgot to talk at times because I was just in awe of what he was doing.
He does call a match, and I think it tends to get lost sometimes as people don't call the match. They're too busy trying to tell a story, or sometimes they're not even talking about that match. They're talking about another match. And yeah, I really like that, so it's worked for me.
Yeah, I mean, some commentary, like you can find yourself too much looking for the soundbite. They don't worry about the soundbite because they know that by just doing the job really, really well, the sound bites will come, if that makes sense. I mean, Kurt's wonderful to have as well because Kurt's so full of knowledge. Like he knows all about British wrestling. He knows all about Scandi Graps. He knows all about, Southwest wrestling. He knows all about Northwest wrestling. Like, what more could you want? Like a guy that's just going to turn up and you might look, Kurt, it's this guy today. So-and-so's pulled out, so we've had to pull this person in and they've never been here before. And he's like, right, cool. Yeah, I know that guy. And I'm like, amazing. Nice one, mate. Cool. I can imagine there's companies out there with their commentators that will go up to them and say, right, I want you to talk about this. I want you to talk about this. I want you to talk about this. I go up to them and just go, right, guys, here's the list of the matches. Here's some interesting facts that you probably didn't know about this. And this is the direction we want to go with this. do your stuff, you know. I mean, to say that when we did set sail in August of 2021, that was the first time either of them had done commentary. First time ever. If you go back and listen to that show, I don't think you would notice.
Really? I mean, because Simon, of course, he's got a huge background in radio and so forth. And I love Coach Johansson's knowledge because I myself have only really just got into Scandi Graps. And it was sort of because of him, because I kept hearing it. He kept mentioning it, he kept saying it, and he kept sharing, I think it was Body Slam Pro Wrestling in Denmark.
Body Slam, yeah.
And so how many guys has he tried to bring in for you so far?
Oh god. The thing is, it's a wonderful thing to have, like have that. Oh, by the way, so and so's over here at this time. Like, it might be that, you know what, 9 times out of 10, I might probably say no, because you know what, unfortunately, this is planned the way it is. But you know that 1 time out of 10, you're going to be so thankful that Kurt's doing that. You know, so, and it's just one of those, like, the way we do our storytelling is a bit different to other people. So it's not feasible for us to just go, oh, you can come and do this here, which would be nice to do, but it's not feasible. But if there ever does come that point where I'm like, oh no, what am I going to do? I need someone, and I need someone different. I could literally just turn to Kurt and go, give me a name.
It's a great talent to have. And as I say, independent wrestling, European wrestling, British wrestling, it is so good right now. And it's not just Denmark and Finland and Norway, the Scandi Grass movement. There's a huge movement coming out of Hungary at the moment, which is superb. And then Germany, of course, is a hotbed for amazing talent. And then, of course, UK, rich history. Morecambe, even richer history. I dated it back to find the first match in 1932.
Yeah, Morecambe likes wrestling.
Yes.
It's So the Morecambe back in the day used to be a holiday destination. The seasiders thing, like Blackpool and Scarborough, and you know, Morecambe was held in just as high esteem. There was a movie filmed in the 30s in Morecambe called The Entertainer. It's a very, like, for kind of classic cinema goers, it's a very big film. So Morecambe's always been about entertainment, you know, being a seaside town, and to me, you can't get much more interactively entertained than with wrestling. So it kind of just always makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, because when I was reading, I was doing my notes, I've got it here, you know, the 50s and the 60s, when that beach boom hit, travel was never easier for British people finally. So they did start heading to these seaside destinations en masse. And it coincided with the wrestling boom of the 60s, the 50s, the 70s, that amazing WOS, World of Sport. And it all ties back. And, you know, I've gone through it. Anybody who was anybody pretty much came through there, you know, from guys like Mick McManus right back in the day. The Top Heel, one of the best wrestlers to ever wrestle in the UK. One match I found, Marty Jones versus Owen Hart in the, I guess that must have been early 80s.
I would imagine it's the early 80s, yeah.
So I'd have been a bit too young, but I can imagine that would have been a banger.
Yeah, technically, I think, yeah.
I love technical wrestling, so that would, for me, it would just have been a dream match. And of course, you mentioned Blackpool, of course. Shout out to the Blackpool Combat Club. William Regal, who of course has wrestled in Morecambe.
Yeah,
Zach Gibson. So many big names. Is that part of the reason you chose Morecambe? Because you live down the south now.
Yes. So I live in Plymouth, in about as southwest as you can get. But then every 2 months drive 6 hours north to Morecambe, which it's my hometown. So I go back and I see my family, but I also do a wrestling show. because what does any normal person really want to do when they're visiting family?
Show.
Yeah, no, I mean, so Morecambe, the crowd was the main thing. When the previous person who ran Morecambe decided to stop, I'd only been involved with wrestling for about a year or two, so I was a bit like, a bit gutted. And so me and a couple of friends decided, you know what, we want to carry it on. We want to carry on the legacy that there is in Morecambe as far as great matches, great stories, great investment, because the fans make it so much easier to tell the stories because they just buy in. They properly boo the heels. They hate them. They and they love and adore the faces. And it's like that analogy of having a 12th man on a football team. That's what the Morecambe fans are. People kind of come to Morecambe to wrestle, kind of, just another show, and then they get out in front of that crowd and they're like, oh, that was different, and as you say, Zach Gibson wrestled in Morecambe in, I want to say 2018, 2017, somewhere along those lines. I think it was 2017. It was after he'd won the WWE tournament, the second one they did. And he wrestled Ryan Hunter. And afterwards, he sent out a tweet just going, man, it's still real in Morecambe, And then Drake Maverick underneath, formerly Rockstar Spud, who, again, grew up, learned his craft in Morecambe, was like, you know what? Yeah, that place is special. Like, when you've got two people that work for the world's biggest wrestling company saying how great a town is, you can't really get much better than that, I don't think.
It's for me, Zach Gibson is one of the best wrestlers in the world.
Yeah.
I love the tag team Grizzled Young Vets, and they are phenomenal as a tag team. But there is something special about Gibson that's not being tapped on enough yet. Maybe once he's in the big, because he's a big lad. He's not a small.
He is, yeah. I when I met him, he was obviously quite tall, but I don't know, like, I don't know if it's going back to that kid thing of like wrestlers being massive and larger than life and these huge things. He kind of didn't. When I saw him in person, I was like, oh, normal person there. And then sort of watching him on TV, it's like, man, he's massive compared. Like, he's huge.
But and hopefully, I expect he will have a big run, and of course, a partner as well, the Grizzled Young Veterans, James Drake.
Yes,
team.
Yeah, we have James Drake's brother Rob, who wrestles in Odyssey as well. So he's from Blackpool, so he's been on both of our Blackpool shows, and he appeared in our Rumble. And Rob's got just as big a future as James. I truly believe that. Like, Rob's special. Like, and you can see that already because he's getting out round and about. Like, just in the past 2 weeks, maybe in 1 week, he's been at North Wrestling in Newcastle and at Discovery in Edinburgh. Like, the lad's getting around a bit, and it's good to see.
He's a big lad as well.
He's a big lad, yeah. He was very frustrated after he came back from his Blackpool match, and I saw how frustrated he was, and then just turned in the other direction because I was going to deal with that later. I was like, I'm going to let him cool down first.
But as I said, we got this huge show coming up. It is War on the Shore. Now, for those who don't know, including myself, until I've done my research, War on the Shore dates back to 2005 originally with Frontier Wrestling Alliance, before being taken over by Alpha Omega in 2018.
So the first War on the Shore was 17 years ago. It was at the Morecambe Dome, which is the site that they're going to be building the new Eden project on in Morecambe. And so, one day I'm going to get wrestling in the Eden project. That's my goal. So 17 years ago, first main event was Raven.
Yep. Against Alex Shane.
Alex Shane. British Alex Shane and British wrestling it's the same thing from years ago, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? And that the FWA was absolutely massive, and so it was coming through Morecambe on fairly regularly. So we wanted to kind of honor British wrestling past with War on the Shore.
Mhm.
And it's, it's not, there isn't a better show name or a better show to be our big show, to be the big Odyssey show. Like, it fits in with our theme really, really well. And it's just a huge show from Morecambe's past. So it was a bit of a no-brainer to have that as our big show each year.
Yeah, because you mentioned Raven, we mentioned, but yes, Spud was on that very first card, along with Doug Williams. And then on the second War on the Shore, you had guys like Ross Jordan, or now RJ Singh, Robbie Brookside, just so many great names from the past. So it's really nice to see you guys honoring that tradition and keeping it alive, keeping wrestling alive in Morecambe. As you say, it is still real to this. So let's talk about you had, before we get into Watershaw, you had a show in Blackpool, Peer Fear.
Yes.
It's a huge show for charity. So this is one. So I'll let you talk about it, because
So it was a show that we did to raise money for a charity called Brian House, which is a charity for children with life-limiting illnesses, to try and just give them a bit of comfort in their final days and things. So it's a really worthy charity. But that came about because I think it was a couple of years ago now. There was a young lad in Blackpool that was struck by lightning, and it killed him. His name is Jordan Banks. And it was all over the news. And he used to do a lot of charity work for Brian House. So once we found out about that, and then RPD, one of the big wrestlers that we have, came to us and said, Jordan's family are friends of mine. I would love if we could do this show as in his memory, and raise some money for the charity that he used to work, raise money for. So it just seemed like a bit of a no-brainer, really. We got the opportunity to put on quite possibly the most bonkers match I'll ever see. And do it for an amazing cause that we managed to raise, well over, I think it was about $1,500 in the end, we raised for Brian House on that show. But it there's no words for that show that I can sufficiently give without having seen it. And thankfully, it is available for free on Powered 4's YouTube channel. Because it was the first time we've ever been to Blackpool, because specifically a Morecambe promotion. But when we've got guys like Ryan Hunter, RPD, Rob Drake, guys like Nate Reese, guys like Mickey Barnes, Sam Gradwell from Blackpool, William Regal it's his second home, like it's his honorary home. Like, Blackpool's got a great wrestling legacy as well. So, we can
count Daniel Bryan and John Moxley now.
Yeah, exactly. Daniel Bryan, right? So this is a weird side note, but Daniel Bryan has wrestled in Morecambe. He was doing, so I need to get this story right, because this is secondhand telling of this. So he was doing a show in Manchester, I think it was, somewhere like that. It was possibly one of the Ring of Honor shows, and he went to get his flight back, and the flight got cancelled. So he was in the UK for an extra day, and there was a show. The show was on in Morecambe, and he just wanted to do something wrestling related before he went back, since he was there for a little bit longer. So he went to Lancaster and Morecambe College and wrestled under a mask, so that he wouldn't be identified as Daniel Bryan. And my friend Kieran recognized it was him because of his nipples. He's told me. He said, "Look, I knew who that was because I recognized those nipples." But yeah, Daniel Bryan wrestled in Morecambe on one occasion.
There you go. That is something. As you say, you don't get much of that.
Where else do you get these kind of stories?
Only on a great British wrestling podcast.
Exactly.
So now War of the Shore, 9th of April, 6th show. Huge men's championship match
Mm-hmm.
involving Ryan Hunter, as you say, has become a bit of a Morecambe hero.
Yes.
You've got RPD. He was big voice behind the Blackpool show and was in the Blackpool main event. And then you have Andre Decker, who has been a pain in the neck for OPW since they, well, even before you guys had actually officially started, he was already threatening to break through security doors.
So this match is pretty huge. I did a thread about this on the Odyssey Twitter page the other day, sort of with gifs and story and a little bit from the past few shows, but I'll kind of run it down as succinctly as I can here. So Andre Decker, much like Ryan Hunter, used to wrestle in Morecambe years gone. They've both 5-6 years in wrestling, potentially more, like maybe 8 or 9. But they wrestled in Morecambe, and that's where they trained, and that's where they learned. You know, they trained together. Did Hunter and Decker, and you know, one went one way, became cult favorite, champion of Morecambe, the hero. One went the other, thought he deserved everything, started drinking. He is what he is, you know, Decker. And when we were starting up Odyssey, we just decided we didn't want Decker. We didn't want the kind of trouble that he would bring. So we just decided not to use him. He didn't take too well to that, and he kind of, from the very get-go, blamed RPD for some reason. Like, he always felt that like RPD had taken his spot. So even kind of at a Morecambe show, we do VIP meet and greets. So if you have a VIP ticket, you get to sit on the front row and you get a photo with some wrestlers before the show starts. So on the first show, we had RPD and Rick Marcus, and Decker decided to crash that before we'd even started a show. You know, crashed it and then got kicked out. But then somehow managed to get back in the building later that night and attack RPD after his match. We then fast forward to our second show, Stormy Waters, where we started off our Odyssey Championship tournament. Decker attacked RPD while the ref was down during his match and cost him the match. So he was no longer in the championship tournament anymore, and took away RPD's first opportunity at a wrestling title since coming over from boxing. And then Ryan Hunter went on to win the tournament and become the Odyssey Pro Wrestling champion. Whereas when Decker, in that Blackpool show, Decker attacked me and stopped me being able to travel up for the December show, and subsequently made me miss Christmas with my family. And you know, it was kind of a long. I talk about it in one of our shows on Powered 4 TV, and yeah, so Decker's been a bit of a thorn. He was then hired to Odyssey Pro Wrestling by the interim general manager in December, who was Chris Brooker. He hasn't gotten on very well with the Morecambe fans. Coming out and calling him simple probably doesn't help. But so Chris Brooker hired Decker and put Decker in the Rumble in January, where the winner of the Overboard Rumble in January could cash in the Overboard contract at a time of their choosing during a Odyssey Pro Wrestling show. Decker tried to do it after the show in January. So I said, look, that's fine. If you want to cash in, that's okay. You can do it in April. However, you can take on Ryan Hunter and you can take on RPD, because at the end of the Rumble, without sort of spoiling it for anyone that's not seen it, RPD had it won, but Decker decided to take an easy way out, let's say.
Yes, typical heelish
He's
behavior. And of course, RPD, professional boxer turned wrestler, phenomenon right now. Literally,
he's everywhere.
Wrestling by storm, and is going to be in your main event. This should be an excellent triple threat match. Each one completely different from the other. It's going to be each one of them bringing so much more to the table.
Yeah, it's going to be great to see RPD finally get his hands on Decker, because show 1 he was attacked by Decker. Show 2 he was attacked by Decker. Show 3 he said to Decker, right, come on, face me like a man. And Decker chose not to. RPD had to leave because he was running a boxing show that night as well. And then after RPD's tag partner Rick Marcus's match, he came out and hit him with a bottle.
Yeah.
And Rick Marcus has been out ever since. So, it's going to be great to see him finally. And then, as I say, the Rumble, RPD had it won, but Decker did what he did. It should have been RPD's contract in the first place. So it's only right that he's in this triple threat match.
I think it was the right decision made by management. So, and then women's championship action. Taonga, who is again a phenom right now. She is everywhere, not just in the north. She is south, and I've seen her deep south as well, and very, very north as well. So she is.
Thing is, at the minute, if you look at the state of British wrestling, the big companies at the minute, ICW, Progress, Rev Pro as well.
Yeah.
You get them people in one of each. Do you know what I mean? It's very rare that someone that goes to Progress ends up in ICW at the minute. It's very rare that someone ICW ends up in Rev Pro at the minute. Taonga is in ICW and Progress.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? You don't find anyone that's doing both those shows at the minute at opposite ends of the country. Like, you've got to be doing something right if you're on not one but 2 shows on the WWE network.
Yeah, she is absolutely incredible. I've had the opportunity to see her live in action a few times. Once with one of your guys, LWF, Lancashire Wrestling Federation, came up and saw them. Had a great chat with her. She is a inspiration to many young girls, despite some of her tactics. But she is, as you say, she's doing great work, and fair play to her. On the other side of it, you've got somebody again. She's just, eventually somebody's going to strap a rocket to her. Harley Hudson, 9 stone of Scouse muscle,
9 stone of Scouse girl power.
We have it's the Scouse Mouse powerhouse.
Yeah, that'll do as well.
Because she's a little petite, but she is incredibly strong.
Yeah. I saw her at Extreme Fields in a Wrestle Island showcase match.
Yeah.
And she was throwing Lance Rivera around like he weighed nothing.
Yeah, I remember Simon was very much enjoying watching. I saw her lift Troy Ryan.
Yeah, wow.
He's huge.
He's a unit.
I saw her lift him up and eliminate him from a Rumble match. So
amazing.
That is, there's definitely she's eating something. She's eating her Weetabix.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be her debut in Morecambe as well. So I'm really excited to see how her energy, like, because she's got some real energy, real fire. So to see that bounce off the crowd in Morecambe is going to be something special.
Yes, I can imagine Taonga not liking her one bit, unfortunately. No. As much as we like her, unfortunately, I don't think Tonga's going to like her very much. And I love this one. You got a fan choice match. Sexy Kev, who just happens to be one of my favorite personal wrestlers, Sexy Kev. More for when he's catch Kev, when because he is a proper catch as can wrestler, trained at the Snake Pit in Wigan, as well as being a black belt in karate as well. Is that right?
I don't know if it's karate. I think is it jiu-jitsu? No, it won't be. I don't know. I'll have to ask him
at the next show.
Yeah.
And Mark Meltzer, a bit of a legend over in the Northwest area, and been corrupted by certain Isaiah Quinn.
Yeah, so Mark Meltzer, back during the times of Alpha Omega, used to come out and embody his favorite golden era wrestlers. So he came out as Hulk Hogan. He came out as the Ultimate Warrior. Oh, I love that. The Ultimate Warrior was amazing because he did the whole full sprint to the ring and stuff like that. Pulled his hamstring and then got pinned straight away. So then the time after that, he came out as the Undertaker because he said he needed to slow it down. Yeah, I loved what Mark used to do. But yeah, Quinn wanted to see who the real Mark Meltzer was, and it worries me that this could have been the real Mark Meltzer all along. He's quite violent now, quite easily swayed by Isaiah Quinn.
And his freak show.
And his freak show, Nightmare. And Will Carter as well, who were a very unique tag team. Because I've seen a lot of people out there do the whole kind of darker tag team, darkest group. And the thing that's scary about Quinn and the Freak Show is just how everything twists. Isaiah Quinn's been releasing these videos. They did like a Happy Days Cheers type one where it was like they were in the bar and, oh, how's it going, and but it was happy but with this undertone of like sadism, and that's scarier than just outright like darkness. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Have you managed to have a peep in the Quinn manual?
No, it's so locked up tight by the Freak Show that like I just steer clear. Just don't want anything to do with that.
To be honest, really.
Nightmare just randomly holds seances every now and then and things like that. So, not for me.
So what are the match choices which are available on your Patreon?
Yes, so on our Odyssey Pro Wrestling Patreon, you can vote for and these were matches that Sexy Kev chose, because in Blackpool, some friends of Sexy Kev Made to Last took on the Freak Show, and after an altercation that Isaiah Quinn and Sexy Kev had, where Isaiah Quinn said, "I decide what happens, it's all me," and I was like, "Oh, hang on a minute, you're not the boss. I am." I tell you what, whoever wins that tag match between Made to Last and the Freak Show at the past Blackpool show gets, either Isaiah Quinn for the Freak Show or Sexy Kev for Made to Last gets to pick the stipulation. Made to Last managed to win the match. So Sexy Kev got to choose, and he said, "You know what? I just want to fight him." He's always had a great connection with the Morecambe fans, so we decided to let them choose. So we thought the best way to do that would be through our Patreon page. So the matches are a last man standing match, or a no disqualification match, or a tables match. At the last time of looking, it looks like it's going to be a last man standing match at the moment, but there is still time to vote by signing up to our Patreon page from as little as £3 a month. You will get access to the full catalogue of all of our shows, and you'll be able to vote on things like match stipulations if they ever come up, and who you want the VIP meet and greet to be, and things like that going forward. So it's quite, we've put it as low as we physically can because we want to get our shows out there as best we can, while still being able to pay for Ant the editor, who is a fantastic video editor. His work is amazing.
I like how the audio comes through very clearly on the commentary. Again, another thing.
Very, very good. Yeah. So those are the three match, last man standing, tables, or no DQ. As I say, at the minute, the way the vote's going, it looks like it's going to be a last man standing match, but there is still time to sign up and cast your vote.
Are we going to have any restrictions on the Freak Show and Quinn? Because in all three of those matches, if they so choose to get involved, they could. No, I'm not saying Kev couldn't handle himself, because we've talked about his background. We know he can handle himself.
This is Kev's choice. He set the stipulations out like that. Like, he clearly must have an idea. I mean, it's not all well and good with the freak show all the time. No. You know, Quinn's very severe when he's not getting his way. And we've seen that a number of times at Odyssey Pro Wrestling, where he's lashed out at the freak show when things haven't gone the way he wanted them to. So I don't know. It's so unpredictable. Like, he might have him involved, he might not have him involved. Who knows?
Who knows? I'm sure it's going to be a great match, and one to definitely keep an eye out for is JJ Webb versus Big Guns Joe, because you know, when they first came to OPW, they were trying to be a little. They were trying to be a faction.
Yes,
but I think Big Guns Joe thought he was the leader.
Yeah. So Big Guns Joe was always scheduled to be in the main event of the first show. And he was going to team with Sandy Beach. Unfortunately, Sandy Beach was injured going into the first show. So Big Guns Joe brought JJ Webb in. And then since then, the three of them sort of stuck together. However, they didn't really have great momentum as a group. And during the Overboard Rumble, JJ Webb attempted to turn on Big Guns Joe and eliminate him from the Rumble. Big Guns Joe took exception, realized, you know what, the way we've been doing things probably hasn't been right, and, you know, stepped away from JJ Webb and Sandy Beach. So JJ Webb, being the person he is, wouldn't have taken that lightly. So he straight away challenged him to this match.
And of course, Big Guns Joe, another name that has been making a name for himself, Progress Wrestling, and many of the other big. Well, he's actually made both, Progress Wrestling and Rev Pro UK. So that's a huge thing to do.
He's just everywhere. He's wrestled in Italy. He's wrestled, you know, up and down the country. He's wrestled. I'm pretty sure he's wrestled in Scotland. He's it's one of my personal favorites. Is Big Guns Joe. I remember seeing a series of videos he did. Where he would go to do something. He was in a gym and he was looking at the treadmill, and someone's like, "Joe, are you about to do some cardio?" I was like, "No," and then just started like pressing the lifting up the treadmill and you know, doing exercise with that. And I just think he's brilliant. He can do everything. Like, and it's very rare you get someone that can be a nasty heel, a funny heel, a sympathetic babyface, a funny baby. He's got it all, hasn't he?
Yeah, because all three of these guys have been training down at the Future Shock Academy, which is one of the best since 2013. They've been one of the best.
Sam Bailey is an incredible trainer. Like, his mind for wrestling is unlike anyone I've ever seen. Like, he is an excellent coach, and he's someone that we regularly have at Odyssey Pro Wrestling as well. And you will see Sam Bailey in the future at Odyssey Pro Wrestling. I just think he's brilliant.
One of the best screams in wrestling.
Yes.
Nate Reese, Wildfire Nate Reese versus Lance Rivera. I think Rivera's more become known for his issues with your lead commentator, Mr. Simon Hill, who apparently has just been trying to do his job. Yeah. And unfortunately, Lance Rivera's got, he's the Playboy Prince, the girlfriend stealer, and he takes exception to some of the things Simon says. So
Nate Reese, as I've said previously, he's from Blackpool. So we had him on our Blackpool shows because we wanted some local hometown guys. And our last Blackpool show, Nate Reese took on Andre Decker. And just putting a heck of a showing. You know, he might not come away with the win, the 1, 2, 3, but he came away, I think, with a moral victory. I thought he did an excellent job. So I really wanted to include him in this show as well and bring him through to Morecambe. And, you know, Lance Rivera was available. He's so full of confidence and arrogance, and, you know, but there's times when some of the stuff from getting tagged in between Lance and Simon, it's like, honestly, I have an easier time with my 9-year-old and my 3-year-old.
And I must admit, we are partially to blame for this. We released a little bit of a clip, and we have told Lance that he has to be amicable, and he can
Yes.
come on the show
Right.
and he can explain his issues with Simon, because we don't want just one side of the story. We would like to get both. So he
Yeah.
has been invited on.
Okay.
So
With Lance, I've never met someone that's so easy to dislike. He's so that's one of the reasons why we love having him as part of Odyssey Pro Wrestling, because he gets a huge reaction from the crowd. However, he gets a huge reaction from the people backstage as well. And it's good to be confident. Good to be confident. He's got to remember that Morecambe is a family show. Like, we have children that come to our show, so he kind of needs to remember, in all his stressing and in all his quips and whatever else, it's a family show.
Who do you think has got the advantage in this match? I know Nate's got the experience, but as you say, he's
got a chip on his shoulder for definite. Like, he had a great match with Rick Marcus on our first show. I think it was it was the very first match of Odyssey Pro Wrestling, was Rick Marcus and Lance Rivera, and you could see there's some great talent with Lance Rivera. So I'm really excited for this match. I think this is going to be the sleeper hit, to be honest with you, because they're both people that know how to work with the crowd. So Nate Reese really, he's the wildfire for a reason. He really, just how hyped up he can get a crowd, a room of people that don't know him, is amazing. But the opposite with Lance Rivera is he can come out and he can get booed out the building. During the Overboard Rumble, there was an elimination, and then he came out and he was the only person in the ring for 2 minutes. The noise didn't dip. You would have thought there was action going on in the ring with the amount of noise coming to the ring, but that was just him walking around, taunting the fans, speaking at Simon for some reason. It's amazing.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll have to settle their issues somehow at some point. Maybe Simon can choose what's the word? Where they
a surrogate? No, not a surrogate, like a champion. Yeah, I'll go champion. Surrogate sounds like he's getting someone else to have his baby.
I think that sounds probably the best way to possibly once. But as I say, I look forward to having him on. As I say, I will be dropping him a message directly and get it arranged and get his side of the story as well. Now, tag team action. Four incredible young men here first. 2-Bit and Scotty Rawk on one side. Lucas Neon and Nick Cutter on the other side. 2-Bit and Scotty Rawk again, really branching out and making names for themselves right now. And Nick Cutter and Lucas Neon are just a little behind that, but they're on their way.
So Lucas Neon, is a product, much like 2-Bit, is a product of the KOW Academy in Barrow. I've seen him in Barrow. I've seen the reactions he gets in Barrow, and it was brilliant. And then I was kind of not expecting it, because I know what he can do, but the reactions Lucas Neon gets from the Morecambe fans is bonkers, and his tag team with Nick Cutter, unfortunately they were unsuccessful against Reese and Rogan, but they showed a lot of heart in the issues that they had with Reese and Rogan. So when 2-Bit and Scotty Rawk joined up in Blackpool and attacked Lucas Neon after the match, or during the match, or when they took down Lucas Neon in Blackpool, it was obvious right then and there that we had to put this match together. 2-Bit and Lucas Neon, let's say, trained together for years, wrestled in KOW numerous times. They know each other very, very well. So to add Scotty Rawk and to add Nick Cutter to this is going to make it really intriguing.
Definitely. I saw Nick Cutter in a triple threat match against Eichenstein and Sonadurson.
So, yeah.
One of the best matches I'd ever had the pleasure to watch live. An incredible young man. And as you say, 2-Bit and Scotty Rawk right now. Again, the two men getting around pretty much all the top promotions in the Northwest. And Scotty Rawk is the cruiserweight champion for
BWR.
BWR, that's the one.
They I believe they're calling themselves Scum because they say that people treat them like scum, so they're going to be scum.
Well, he is the Grimsby Grebo, or the Grimsby Grappler, and the Grebo Grappler.
The Grebo Grappler from Grimsby.
And the Rat King too, but so yeah, I guess it really does suit them. So
yeah,
I think they could be if they can find some chemistry, they could be they could be one of the top tag teams. But it's finding that chemistry.
Yeah, I mean, we eventually do need to crown some tag team champions in Morecambe. So, with teams that we've already got, and then new teams forming like this with 2-Bit and Scotty Rawk, it's gonna make everything really difficult.
Now, the final matchup on the card. You have reinforced the ring for this match, yes?
Yeah. We've had to do some extra welding to make sure.
So we've got Synergy, the boys of Synergy, Troy Ryan, Anderson Daniels, powerlifters, American footballers, huge boys,
big boys,
and Reese and Rogan. If you could imagine sort of like the Dudleys mixed with the Nasty Boys, you've got Reese and Rogan.
Yeah, spot on that. Yeah, man. So when we we're trying to decide what we wanted to do with Odyssey Pro Wrestling, two of the first names that I said that I wanted involved were Synergy. I had seen them in the LWF from times when I'd been lucky enough to ring announce for the LWF, and I'd just been so impressed. And I really, really wanted to make sure they came to Morecambe. And then Reese and Rogan, I hadn't heard of much before Blackpool TLC. And believe me, after Blackpool TLC, I was never forgetting Reese and Rogan again. This is, the match that a lot of wrestling fans wanted to see, and we did it in Blackpool. Now, when we sort of announced that the match was going to happen in January, the two teams just wanted to get their hands on each other and wouldn't stop, and had to have the biggest pull apart brawl I've ever seen, where at one point they were trying to fight each other so hard that Rogan just picked referee Scott Bell up and just yeeted him at Synergy. What can you do when that's, But I mean, anytime these guys step in the ring, it's magic together because they really don't like each other. Like, there's so many similarities that between these two big teams, but then the differences are so stark in contrast, if that makes sense. Like, the similarities are what's bringing them together, but the differences are what makes this really interesting. It's just power for power's sake with Synergy. Synergy's just, I'll just lift both of them up here, and I'll just, deadlift him here and stuff like that. Whereas with Reese and Rogan, it's power for violence sake. And when they're guided by a man like Chris Brooker in the spotlight with Andre Decker, there's an added danger. So, it's very much Godzilla King Kong this. Yeah. I think there's going to be collateral damage. So I'm going to have to push the chairs just back just a little bit.
This is the one I'm really looking forward to. I'm a tag team wrestling fan. I love proper tag teams like Synergy, like Reese and Rogan. So for me, I'm just licking my lips. I also like big boys hitting.
And that's it. We saw the match in Blackpool and we said, you know what? This was brilliant. We have to do it at Morecambe.
Yeah.
You have to give that match to the Morecambe fans because Morecambe will go nuts. They will go loud. Synergy Morecambe is falling in love with Synergy already, which is brilliant to see, and they really don't like the spotlight. So Reese and Rogan and Synergy in Morecambe, I'm waiting for the biggest clash, but then the biggest sound from it. Yeah, it'd be good.
That's the matches preview. So I think that's, as you say, this is a fantastic card. In fact, I was actually talking to Duka on Twitter about a lot of exciting matchups on this one. As we say, it is War on the Shore, 9th of April in Morecambe at the Alhambra. It's going to be excellent. Now, before I let you go, let's find out a bit more about yourself. When did you first start getting into wrestling?
Oh, so as a fan or in the
as a fan and then into
so when I was a kid, I grew up and there were four wrestling VHS tapes that we had at home. WrestleMania 1, WrestleMania 3, WrestleMania 6, In Your House Mind Games 97.
Random one.
Yeah. So, I would watch those 4 videotapes on repeat. And then, so like, because of In Your House Mind Games, I used to think that Savio Vega was the greatest wrestler ever because he wrestled the first 2 matches on a show. And yeah, so I started watching those, and my parents had Sky TV when I was a kid, so I used to watch WWE. And I remember during my 9th birthday party turning the wrestling on, and it was the time when the Big Show chokeslammed the Undertaker through the ring, and then all my school friends were obsessed with it. And it's just always been there for me. Like, to me, wrestling is Shakespeare in action. Theatre in the round, like live entertainment, interactive with the crowd, emotions. It's Shakespeare, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I do a lot of local amateur theatre in my spare time. And in 2016, I was kind of fed up, and I just fed up of amateur theatre, fed up of the drama that went with drama. I was just sick of it, and I needed to get away. But then I kind of needed to do something. Like, I couldn't just sit on my hands. And I reached out and got in touch with my local wrestling promotion, which, being in Morecambe, it was Alpha Omega at the time. And I was so very lucky to go along and help out on a show. And then Kieran, Charles Nelson Riley, said, "Oh, I need a new." He was talking to someone, and he said, "Oh, I need a new backstage interviewer." So I was like, "I'll do it." I, do theatre and stuff like that. So I'll used to doing camera stuff and whatever else. He was like, "All right, cool, you got the job." And so I did that for a couple of months. And then I just, the more I'm around wrestling, the more I fall in love with it. The more I hear the stories from everyone about, like, my favorite parts of wrestling shows were when it was finished and we went back to Kieran's house and we talked about wrestling, like, and just got stories. And, and the first time I found out about Raven at the Dome, and I found out, about how big the FWA was, and all this stuff that I'd missed just with my WWE goggles on.
I was the same. I really was. I was up until about 5 years ago. Knew nothing.
Yeah. So I went to train at KOW in Barrow because that was the closest training school to me. So again, I just wanted to learn more on how to do stuff, and I became a ring announcer for KOW. I then went on to ring announce in Morecambe for Alpha Omega, LWF in Chorley, and I just kind of, it snowballed from one thing to the next, all just because I just wanted to find out more information about it. And I just sort of, I always throw myself into things. Like, I always get like very hyper fixated on things, like one at a time. Like, right, this has my interest right now. I want to know everything about it. And I just haven't stopped with this yet.
I know that feeling so much because, as I say, once I started learning about the history of just Morecambe wrestling, I'm like, oh, these guys competed here. Oh, this person, this match. And believe I've got pages of notes. I plan at some point, hopefully, to write my own book on the history of British wrestling. It'll be nice. It'll be a great thing to do. But
so if you ever get a chance, Greg Lambert wrote 2 books. I can't remember what they're called. They're available on Amazon. But yeah, Greg Lambert's written some books on British wrestling, and there's lots in there about Morecambe wrestling. So if you want information about Morecambe wrestling and its heyday, then Greg's an expert. He used to run the XWA. He's got a great mind for wrestling. And yeah, check out his books because, you know, if you're wanting to learn more about Morecambe history and just wrestling history in general, then he's the guy.
That's awesome. In fact, you know what? I'd love to get him on the show. We had Stephen Bell. He's just written the Dynamite and Davey book that's going to be coming out, I think, next week now. And such a great chat, just talking to him, listening to him tell these stories of two incredible great wrestlers from the past. So one of the questions we always ask people is our Mount Rushton, or Mount Rushmore, but British wrestling, Mount Rushton. So if you could put 4 British wrestlers, they can be more personal to you rather than just as what they've done for British wrestling as a whole.
Okay.
But who would you put on there?
Oh, that's quite difficult. See, my mind's going in lots of different directions with this. Do I go general wrestling and, you know, British wrestling? Because I don't have a massive amounts of like historic British wrestling knowledge. Do I just go the 4 at the moment? Do I go there's part of me that wants to go to my favorite 4 comedy wrestlers for some reason.
I'll tell you what then. Let's go for one who you feel has had an impact on British wrestling history.
Okay.
One that you like for a comedy wrestler.
Okay.
One that you like that you think has influenced this generation.
Okay.
And then one from this generation.
Okay. Okay, so someone comedy-wise, the wrestler I am so gutted I never got to see live because he retired before I could see him. It was a wrestler called Madman Manson. I'm so gutted I missed him. Honestly, I've watched his stuff back and it's just perfection. For comedy wrestling, it's incredible. Like every story I hear about him, it makes me wet myself. So yeah, Madman Manson would be on there. Someone that inspired the current generation. I've got to go Doug Williams. I living in Plymouth. I went to Reach Wrestling the last time they went to Tavistock in Plymouth, and I got to see Doug Williams versus Joe Redman 1-on-1. And oh my word, I am a very big fan of wrestling because of a story, not wrestling for the sake of wrestling.
Yeah.
These two just had a match because that was what was scheduled, and they crafted a story in the match and told that story to perfection. They didn't just have a match for match's sake. They created a story and told the story around technical wrestling.
Does not get talked about enough, in my opinion. Joel Redman is so good.
Cardio king.
Everything. Yeah, and he looks like that. It's not fair.
No, it's not. It's absolutely not.
We were talking about this with Jason actually about Redman and just how good. Yeah. So sorry, go on.
Yeah. So yeah, Doug Williams, Madman Manson. What were the other 2 categories? Sorry.
So one from this generation.
This generation. Oh. I've got to say Pete Dunne, I think, because I went to the UK tournament in Blackpool night 2, and I saw him and Tyler there live for that. I saw Pete Dunne and Zach at Earl's Court. The Albert Hall. Yeah. Every time I've seen Pete Dunne live, it's always been amazing. You know, he had that match with Walter. He had the match with Tyler in Chicago. And then just everything he's done around British wrestling as well, like, you know, Attack and all the shows that he's lifted and everything he did with British Strong Style. And, you know, so I think, name or not, you know, he's going to WrestleMania. Yeah. So, you know, but yeah, Pete Dunne as that one. And then one from right now. One that I think is going to be absolutely huge is Scotty Rawk. I think Scotty Rawk is going to be absolutely massive. He has a very distinctive style. He has a very distinctive look. Everything he does There's a reason behind it. He doesn't just do things for the sake of doing it. And backstage, he's really lovely. Like, but yeah, so past, present, future, and just to make me laugh, those would be my full.
No, I like it. It's funny, we have some of the really young wrestlers that we've had on, say, like a Just Joe Lando or Danny Black, and we've asked them about their ones. And Pete Dunne and Chris Brooks are quite common amongst that age group of people who they think have influenced. And you're right, without Pete Dunne, it's highly likely NXT UK may have never existed without. You could say that you had it was Trent Seven, but it was because of Pete Dunne, what he had done, the popularity, him and Tyler Bate.
I think I think Tyler, between Tyler and Pete, like that was what kind of created it. But then NXT UK is brilliant because you get to showcase some of fantastic British wrestlers. My absolute favorite British wrestler right now is Sam Gradwell. Sam Gradwell entertains me every time I see him. Like as I say, just perfection. Like the very first ever interview I ever did in wrestling was with Sam Gradwell, and I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. I just stood there and went, all right, but anytime he picks up a microphone, calls someone a yogurt, I'm there for it. It was the one he did on this past week's NXT UK where he's hiding under the ring. And if you look at his Instagram, he's got like an Instagram story of just him waiting under the ring, pulling the guy under the ring, and then coming out and confronting Kenny Williams. And he's just gold with everything he does.
Yeah, and he looks great. He really got a phenomenal physique.
Oh, he got himself in amazing shape. Like, talk about like using lockdown like to better yourself. Whoa,
definitely. Okay, let's go for this one.
Okay,
Kurt has convinced you to go to Denmark with a invading force of 8 OPW wrestlers.
Okay.
3 females as well. So out of those, who are you going to take with you?
I'm invading Scandi Graps. Viking reverse. Yeah. So you got to take Lizzie Evo, first of all, to like lead the line. Like Lizzie Evo,
scary.
She's the hardest person in British wrestling, as far as I'm concerned.
We asked Gary Ward, WrestleCon, the exact same question. Who would you take if you were invading Germany? Lizzie Evo was straight first name out of this one as well. So,
yeah, she's the hardest person in British wrestling. She'll have you. Something about them Scousers, isn't it? From OPW, Gia Adams would have to be there as well. Powerhouse. And I'm thinking of this very much logically of the invading force. So I'm gonna have to go with Taonga as well. Just to kind of, because she's got one of the best minds. So she'd come up with all our plans. So that's 3. So I've got 5 more. I'd have to take Nathan Cruz. I know he's only wrestled for us once, but I'd have to take Nathan Cruz.
He's a superstar.
From a wrestling match point of view, him and Ryan Hunter was one of the best wrestling matches I've ever watched.
Very enjoyable.
Just straight up, wow. I'd have to take Reese and Rogan over.
Mention it. You got the nasty boy Dudley type.
It just madman. 2 more. I'm gonna have to take Synergy.
Big boys.
Just if you're gonna invade a country, you want to do it with the biggest kaijus you can find.
Yeah.
And if you think of someone, a loose cannon like Nathan Cruz leading Synergy and Reese Rogan, someone's getting battered.
It's an aim now. I'm going to get Kurt Johansson onto the show because I'm going to ask him the question in reverse. They're going to say, Ethan has brought these 8 guys. Who are you going to match him up with?
Oh,
so
I had Synergy in there because I've seen Synergy as heels, and they're very, very good heels.
Yeah.
To be fair, before we started booking them, they were heels everywhere, and then we went, "Nah, you're too funny to be heels."
They're very entertaining.
Honestly, they're so funny. Like, if you ever get chat, and I'll have to send you the link for it. But we did a promo after the first show when we were putting together the championship tournament to decide which member of Synergy would join.
This
in.
is on Powered 14. Well, I've seen part of it on Powered 14.
So it's actually in the show as well. They decided who would the first promo they did where they were arguing about it is hilarious. I'm laughing. I can't contain myself. Like the way they're going back and forward. And then the second one they did to actually decide, they played Guess Who, but with the roster. Oh, it's beautiful. It's amazing.
Please send me that link. I think
I
see that. Right. Before I let you go, then, Ethan, is there anything else that you would like to bring up?
Yeah, I want to put over Reach as well because I live down here and I want to say some good things about them as well.
Man, because we just had Jason on talking about Reach. I just saw their Brawl in the Guildhall.
Yeah.
That Charlie Sterling match against John Redman. I went on for a bit too long with Jason, but it was just so bloody good.
It was very, very good. I was backstage. So I was helping out at that show and I said, you know what? I'll do you want me to just cue everything like I do in Morecambe? He was like, yeah, brilliant. Long story short, it was one of the most difficult nights of my life. So I'm backstage getting the next lot ready to go because the time's up and Joel and Charlie Sterling are still going. And I'm like, this is so good, but hurry up and finish. But yeah, so Reach is incredible. Like 656 people at a British wrestling show. That takes some going.
Yeah, it's not done very often. And they've got their academy as well. They are producing now. You really begin to see it come through on their on their YouTube
on Unit
show,
10.
Unit 10.
I was at the last Unit 10. I think it was the last Unit 10. And Barton Hyde was wrestling a young chap named Kid Devon, who at one point he grabbed him and threw him across the ring. And I swear to God, Kid Devon went, and then in midair somehow managed to jump even more before flying. It was the biggest yeet I've ever seen.
What are they feeding those guys down there as well? Because Barton Hyde is a big boy. He's not
lad.
the only big boy there as well.
Toby Valentine, my God. He's Toby. So again, that Unit 10, he cut a promo after he was unsuccessful at the Guild Hall, and my word, what a promo that was. He's going to be special. He is, there's something about that farmer Cornish accent that I just want to give him a cuddle. But at the same time, if you did, he'd probably bear hug the life out of you.
Jason Key's onto something good there. The
look at
really good.
Look at the women that they've got. LA Taylor is taking the Southwest over. She's got that. She's got up. She's got up as far as Birmingham. She's got over as far as Portsmouth. That's her country now. She's only going to try and expand that. You've got Aurora, who's the Reach Women's Champion, who's incredibly talented. Echo Reed, who is one of the just instantly most likable people I've ever seen perform. Like, you watch her and you just go, oh, she's nice. And then Ruby is cheerleader and is the most flexible and cruel person I've ever met in my life, because I only say that because of Stretch Class, and she's vicious, but then she's actually really nice.
And they've got a huge conditioning program down there, which alongside Joel, you can imagine why.
Yeah, I've taken part in the fitness test and it murdered me.
Yes, he straight. One of the things he almost put it out as like a warning. This is what you're gonna get when you come here. We are gonna work you.
My very first training session at Reach was a fitness test. And I'm not ashamed to say the first one took me 45 minutes to do. I was dead, like awful. 12 weeks later, I did it in, I think it was 26 minutes. So it could show the kind of work that they put you through and actually how worth it is.
We've got, we're arranging with Echo Reed to get her on. We're just nailing down a date, but she will be coming on our show. We are very much looking forward to having her on because she does seem like such a nice person. And she's got an excellent shining wizard on her.
Mm.
And as you say, those 4 women, because they had the championship match at the Brawl in the Guildhall, and they really, really showed up for that one, didn't they? And they deserve so many
big stage
for it.
Yeah, because I mean, my 2 favorite matches on that show. One was the women's 4-way, which is amazing because you saw how much it meant to them.
Yeah.
And the other one was the Reach Academy Battle Royal. Partly because Northern Culture hit the greatest low blow I've ever seen in my life. And then did the Ronaldo see you afterwards. And then other part, like that final stretch at the end between, Toby Valentine, Jordan Sparks, and Alexander Gray was, oh man, in front of that crowd, it was madness.
Yeah, lots and lots of great young talent, great good-looking guys as well, to be honest. So, and that street fight,
yes,
man like Bino and
Nick Riley.
Nick Riley. That's sorry, Nick. What a match! And
that balcony dive was. I'm pretty. Afterwards, one of the techies said to me, like, "Is he all right?" Because he landed on a speaker. And I went up to Bino and I was like, "Mate, are you okay?" Because I think he said you landed on a speaker. He's like, "No, I didn't. I was fine." But, well,
it's quite funny because then you actually go and then you had the Smoking Aces in Manchester against Lycos Gym, and you had Nick Riley do the exact same thing off the balcony.
I think that was Bino's intention. I think if he could do it, I can do better. Screw this guy.
They did a great set where they had the chair set up, and Nick Riley first did the cannonball over the barrier, and then Bino came back and did the Hurricane Rana over the barrier. Just brilliant. So fair play. Yeah, thank you for bringing up Reach, because very deserving. They've been doing great things there. Relatively new, and as I say, the academy it's really beginning to show its worth. And
Unit 10 on its free YouTube show that Reach put out on a regular basis. It's one that I very much recommend people watch. My recommendation is watch the Christmas Rumble because Toby Valentine pounces Jack Best out of the ring in the most mental elimination I've ever seen.
I'm gonna have to go search this one out. Right. Yeah. So with that being said, I'm gonna go.
Go watch all the wrestling.
Yeah. And just remember one thing, ladies and gentlemen: don't feed the trolls.